This is the first of a series of videos that I'm doing on a remodeling job. I know this may not be a do-it-yourself video, however, there are some things in this video that I think are going to pertain to some people. This is going to be mainly for the drywall portion. All of the trim, with the exception of the crown molding, is going to be demoed. All the carpeting and tile are going to be removed. Also, the orange colored wallpaper is going to be removed. One thing that's going to be removed, and you can't really tell what it is, are the sound panels just below the crown molding. This wall and door are going to be removed. This door is going to be removed and filled in. These pocket doors are going to be removed, and the opening is going to be made wider, and a folding nano wall will be installed. Inside the bistro area, the same thing, remove all the trim and remove the sound panels. Back here on the serving line, we're going to remove the counters, most of the kitchen equipment, replace the ceiling tiles, and replace all of the light fixtures. We're also going to remove and replace all the tile on the front counter line. We're also going to remove and replace all the recessed lighting. One of the problems we had during demo is the previous contractor didn't use a primer on the fresh drywall or taping mud. And most of the paint on these areas is peeling off, so we're going to have to scrape as much off as we can. Unfortunately, there was a lot of this in the bistro area, and we couldn't just leave it because the new wall covering going on may have caused this to bubble up later, so we had to take off all the loose paint that we could. Because of the kind of paint it is and the way it comes off the drywall, it almost feels like wallpaper. After all the trim and wallpaper was removed, you can see there's another big mess. Again, because nothing was primed, it peeled a lot of the paper off. Because metal studs are normally used in commercial projects, you have to glue the trim to the wall. We did take a knife and cut the caulking to the trim. However, when the wallpaper was peeled off, it pulled some of that paper off with it. The sound panels at the top of the ceilings, those were also glued. Unfortunately, a lot of the glue was silicone as well, so the silicone had to be scraped off in its entirety. Here you can see the pocket doors were removed. You can also see coming around the corner that the wall and the French door was also removed. We're also replacing the recessed fixtures, so all of the drywall around the lights had to be cut out in order to remove the lights and install the new ones. After demoing everything, 90% of the walls will have to be taped and floated. Before we can start taping or sealing, we're going to have to remove all of the loose paint, paper, and caulk by scraping all the walls. After everything's scraped, I'm going to seal the walls with a product called Zinsser Gardz. This will seal all the drywall paper so it can be taped again. I'm also going to use it in the areas where there was wallpaper. After removing the wallpaper, there was a lot of glue left on the wall. Instead of trying to remove all the glue, we can use Zinsser Gardz to seal it in and get it ready for taping again. Sealing this way will save a lot of labor instead of trying to remove all the glue. And since we're going to be skim coating the walls anyway, we'll just skim over the area where there was glue from the wallpaper. I also sealed the walls where the paint peeled off the fresh taping compound, just so the stuff that was already on doesn't bubble off. Because there's so much taping to do and we're going to have to skim coat all the walls, I'm going to use a different method of applying the taping compound. I'm going to add water and thin down the taping compound enough to roll it on with a roller. This will allow me to apply the taping compound in a nice even layer. In the construction world, we would refer to this as a level 5 finish. I don't need a level 5 finish, but with so much skim coating to do, it's much easier to apply the taping compound with a roller. I'm still going to have to apply 2 coats, and it's much easier to apply the compound this way. This area had all the wallpaper. Instead of trying to get rid of all the glue, I sealed it in with the Gardz. For the first coat, I'm going to use the taping compound in the green box. The compound in the green box has more adhesives in it, and it'll hold to the wall better. The tinted compound, the one in the red and blue, I will use for the finish coats. That is much easier to sand. The green will work just fine for all coats, however it is harder to sand and harder to feather in. After the first coat is dry, I'm just going to lightly sand down everything I did. And this isn't to make it smooth, it's just to knock down any high spots or any pieces of junk that may be in the taping compound. As you can see, there's a lot of skim coating to do. Now I'll give everything a second coat with the yellow tinted compound. Now I wish I could say there's no sanding involved, but there is, and there's a lot of it. However, it's not the kind of sanding you think. It's just feathering in. If you apply the taping compound correctly and not in thick globs, the sanding is not too bad. And you can see even after all the drywall work I've already done, if you look at the ceiling, I still have to patch in around all the lights. Normally we do all the taping at one time, however we're waiting for an electrical inspection so we couldn't close up the ceiling. So we did everything we could, and you can see there's a lot of it, so we wouldn't get behind. Now I get to do something different. I start priming the walls. This is where I'm at to this point. Make sure you subscribe and come back to see how the job progresses.